Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. We're your hosts, Dan and Andy. Today is March 27th, Andy, 2022, the final weekend in March before we get into April, but it also signals the end of March Madness for the most part this weekend.
Right.
We're on season 3, episode number 20, and we got lots to cover today. Basketball, hockey.
All their Final Fours are getting set up this weekend, yep.
High school basketball. We've got Major League Baseball in full spring training swing.
Yep.
So let's start off with a little basketball. I got a trivia question today, Andy.
Yes, fire away.
The question is this. The Final Four is now set. Kansas is going back. So I decided to wear my
KU stuff.
Rock Chalk sweatshirt today. Kansas is going for the 16th time to the Final Four. And, you know, a lot of the regular colleges, like the Gophers, they'll mention and they'll track how often they make it to the NCAA tournament, or make it to the first or second round. Here, you know, in Kansas is one of those schools that almost like UConn and the women's is not good enough. Making it to the Final Four is just kind of par.
Right.
But this is their 16th trip to the Final Four. The question for the trivia is, in their 15 times they've made it to the Final Four, what's their win-loss record in that first game? In the first game, in the semifinal game, what is their record in the 15 years they've gone? What's their win-loss record? We'll cover the answer at the midway point of the show.
All right.
But boy, just imagine. I think the Gophers made it, you know, that one year, 97, to the Final Four. It was vacated.
Or did they? You look up the history books. No, they didn't.
Yes, it was vacated. They didn't. Now, not a trivia question, but how many times has Kansas Jayhawks won the NIT? The answer is 0. They've only gone twice.
Oh, I suppose
They're always going to the NCAA.
How many times?
They have no NIT trophy in their trophy case, and that's probably the least of their concerns. But
I was hearing somewhere today St. Peter's beat Duke in the NIT back like in the 30s or something like that.
Oh, really?
So, but we'll get into that part later. We'll dive into the Minnesota State boys basketball tournament. Kind of wrapped up the big tournaments here in Minnesota for us. Go down. We got Hayfield was the 1 seed. They win the Class A in a tight game against Belgrade, 51-49. Minneapolis North takes it on the chin against Annandale, 60-49 in AA. If you want to look up your local news here in Minnesota on it, I guess in one of the rounds, Minneapolis North had some issues with other teams still playing the racist card against them. It's like
I saw that. They issued a statement or something.
Yeah, and the league is looking into it. So we might wait a couple weeks here, let all the dust settle before we start saying anything. We don't like to jump the gun and speculate here. You know us. That, and we're just too lazy to look into it deeper. Tino Grace, 50-44 over De La Salle. That was a very good game for 3A. And Wayzata loses to Park Center. That breaks my heart. Park Center is your Class 4A champs.
Congrats.
Which got me to, I was thinking, wouldn't you like to see all 4 of those guys in a Final Four winner take all for one more weekend? For boys basketball, girls basketball, the ones where they got it broken down to 4 groups like that. Why not one more weekend as a winner take all? It's kind of a thought that we kind of need to see. Have it be a, charity event. Of course, proceeds go to whatever funds you want to have, and that'd be kind of cool. I'm sure the players wouldn't mind it. I mean, some of the players, one more chance to strut your stuff for a college for some of the smaller schools in it,
So 4 divisions, bring them all for the boys winners and the girls winners.
Yep.
Have a tournament, a one-day tournament.
We throw the 4 names in a hat and you pick them out and see who plays who,
Games. That's not bad.
Something fun. Men's Frozen 4 just got the final right before we came on air. Hence, we're a little late here. Michigan wins over to get in. Denver is the other 1 seed, so they'll be facing each other. Then Minnesota State and Minnesota. So 3 1 seeds made it. We like I said, it could have been all Minnesota teams, but no. St. Cloud State and Duluth had to blow it. Gosh, have a Big Ten championship. Could be Michigan, Minnesota, all Big Ten.
Yeah, and that Minnesota, the Gopher win in overtime against UMass. UMass is the defending champion.
Yes.
And that was nice to see the win there, but now they got to face each other.
And Minnesota State's got the best goalie in the country right now. Michigan and Denver, two of the top teams for most titles overall. So a lot of schools that aren't new to this, not their first rodeo in the Final Four. Frozen Four being played in the Massachusetts. Men's Final Four is set up. The Dukies against North Carolina on your left side, and on the right side, Villanova and Kansas. I did not have any of these teams. I had Houston making it. That was my last ditch effort, and they lost to Villanova. But so it's Kansas, Villanova. They'll be the first game, I believe. I'm sure they'll put Duke and North Carolina as the later game for TV ratings. There's your lineups. First time Duke and North Carolina have ever met in the playoffs.
Say that again now.
First time Duke and North Carolina have ever met in the NCAA playoffs.
They've never faced each other ever.
No. You figure somewhere they would have bumped in the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 somewhere. But
really,
as a 1 and 2 seed or a 2 and 3, they would have bumped in. But no, never been there.
Oh, imagine the TV audience for this.
Yes, that's gonna be some fun. That's a Saturday night. A lot of people will be late for church on Sunday in the Carolinas, I bet. Women's Final Four is not set yet. They got their games tonight and tomorrow to set up their Final Four. South Carolina did win right before we came on the air, so they'll be one of the teams. Stanford and Texas are playing right now. Then tomorrow is Louisville and Michigan, and NC State and UConn to finish off the brackets there. Then they all come here to the Twin Cities. We'll be hosting the ladies here for the Final Four. Some stuff has already started. Again, locally, I think every channel probably has it on. If you can look around. They showed how they set up the floor for the Final Four and how they do all that stuff. It's all pretty neat if you're into that. They're going to have a lot of different activities going on in the Twin Cities area. Tickets are still available, they're saying. I don't know if you're up in the upper deck behind the security pole, but if you're into it and you want to go. If not, you can go watch warm-ups and practices. That's always fun too. Commercial break here. We do have a blog. Just updated yesterday at sportsandsongspodcast.blogspot.com. 8 things I'd change if I was in charge of AEW wrestling. Here's the things I'd change after almost 3 years. So go to Blogspot, check it out. Let me know what you think. Speaking of what I think, soapbox, talking about the basketball tournament for men. This is one of the headlines, how Arkansas brilliantly capitalized on the poor NCAA officiating. I've heard about the poor NCAA officiating and all this all along. We said it a lot during the football year, and I'll say it now. Gonzaga, don't blame the officiating on Holmgren falling out and you losing. Good teams win those games anyway. If you're putting all your eggs in one basket on Chet Holmgren, a freshman, you were the number 1 seed. I like Chet, don't get me wrong. He did not carry you all year round. You should have been able to get around that. Yes, Arkansas is a great team. Don't get me wrong. But to be pointing the fingers for excuses like that, no. Don't blame the refs. The refs blow it, then work with it. If they're calling Holmgren for something all the time on fouls, then change your plays and don't have them run that kind of defense anymore if they're calling them all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Gonzaga with a new coach in a couple years. They've been the 1 seed. They've been the favorite for the last few times and nothing. So maybe it's the coaching. And no, I don't want the job. Minnesota Wild hockey winding down here. Top 8 teams in the Western Conference make the playoffs. The Wild are sitting at the 3 seed right now, so they would be in. They'd be fine. And if the playoffs were today, their matchup, because the way the NHL rules go, and you can find this on their website, they would be playing the St. Louis Blues, who we still have only played once this year and lost. We got 2 more games coming up at St. Louis coming up here. So it'd be the Wild against the Blues. The Wild have been real hot lately since making some trades and shuffling people around. So it could be exciting. anytime, the old North Division rivalry of Minnesota and St. Louis. So it'd be kind of fun. That's if the playoffs were today. Still got a few weeks to go, so but just kind of getting you in the mood. And here is the Wild schedule for the next few games. They have 3 more at home. I do not have, as far as I checked last, no score on the Colorado-Minnesota game. 2 more at home. Then they hit the road for a while. We had that nice long home stretch here because of XL being used for the Minnesota State tournament games. And then they go on the road. They got a couple there at St. Louis, like we said, to finish the season. Nashville, at Washington, Carolina. So they go back on the road, but hopefully they'll get set for the playoffs. Timberwolves also looking at the playoffs. Here's the standings now. The bottom 4, top 10 teams make it. The bottom 4 have play-in games. Right now we're at the 7 seed, so we'd be in the play-in games. We're only a game behind Denver for that last spot. 2.5 behind Dallas for the 5 spot. So could hopefully bump up and not have to be in a play-in game. And here's, if it was today, how the playoffs work for that. The 7-8 seed play each other. The winner is automatically the 7 seed in the first round. If you lose the 7-8 game, you play the winner of the 9-10 game, and that winner becomes the 8 seed. So if you're the 9 or 10 seed, you got to win twice to make it in.
And this is new, Andy, right?
They did it last year. They started last year with the bubble.
Oh, yes.
Format. And I thought it was going to be just a bubble year thing. I guess everybody liked it. And everybody's saying excuses because now you look at the Lakers and New Orleans, 31-42, 31-43, and they'll make the playoffs maybe. If you want top 8 seeds, like the old school ways, there's the Clippers, 3 games below 500. They'd be making the playoffs. So looking at it in the West right now, 1 for sure, if not 2 teams with a below 500 record will be in the playoffs. Because if Minnesota loses both games and they're done, obviously that means the Clippers made it below 500. And then the winner of the Lakers New Orleans game would be below 500, making the playoffs as well. Yeah. Excuse me. And here's the Wolves schedule for the rest, Wolves for the rest of the year. The Boston and Toronto today, then Denver. Then at Houston, they finish up with 3 at home. That last game, the time to be determined against the Bulls. Because the way the playoffs are going right now, it's going to be a TV ratings issue. Why it's a day or night game, so we'll see on that one. Major League Baseball, like we said, has started spring training. Not much to report out of spring training. Nothing major yet. Everybody's playing nice. Just I saw this stat of free agency spending so far this year. The top 5 and the bottom 5. And look at that bottom team. Oakland Athletics have spent nothing in free agency this year.
Now, I have one comment there, Andy.
Yep.
The A's are in a rebuilding year.
Oh, yes.
They are making some deals.
Oh, yeah. They've been trading
not
players.
Picking up free agents, but they're acquiring a lot of young talent and trading away some older veteran guys that they've got. So they're making some, I would say, maybe some wise moves down there. But yes, look at this stat. It jumps right.
The Reds are the same way. They got rid of some contracts. The Reds got rid of some contracts, so they got some youth, You look at the Brewers. They got them at 26th, spending $12.9 million, but yet some people are still picking the Brewers to win that division. The top 4, you see the Tigers at $235 million. Most of that's Javi Baez. So
okay.
And the Mets, most of that is Max Scherzer. We did the Mets have signed some other big name guys, but a lot of those were trade too, though. But the Scherzer one was the most of that. And the Rangers, $580 million. So let's see how that works out for them. They've done that before with Alex Rodriguez, and that didn't work out.
$500 million we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the Yankees, for instance, aren't on this list, but they did absorb the Josh Donaldson salary, but it doesn't count against the free agency spending that they spent.
Right. Yeah.
Year. Okay.
Yeah, that was just a salary they got in a trade.
Interesting. That's a nice little list here.
The Twins, We're just going to kind of go into the schedules right now. Not really much to report on spring training for the team right now. No one's majorly injured right now, so we'll just keep happy thoughts there. And the 7th is the home opener. So they got their last 3 there in April. Then they start out with Seattle with 4 here against the M's. Then the Dodgers are in town right away. Cold weather, Dodgers will be here. This could be our chance because a lot of people are picking the Dodgers to win it all. So if you want to see the future World Series champs, like everybody's predicting, spend April 12th and 13th outside watching them in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go on the road for 4 in Beantown, 3 in Kansas City, which you can never trust. Then they go to the White Sox. So, and I'm not ripping on Seattle here, but we're jumping in the deep end here right off the bat. Dodgers, Red Sox, White Sox. White Sox are supposed to do well this year, so Twins are jumping in hot and heavy. If they can make it 500 through this group, it could be a very good year.
Yep.
The Mets, they start out on the road. So divisional rivalries, we like to call it, against the Nationals and the Phillies. Then they come home for the D-backs, 4 against the Giants, and then they go to Arizona after that. So, again, hopefully if they can come out that road trip, 6 games, they can come out 500 there, I'd be ecstatic.
Where did Brad Hand end up? Is he there?
I have not followed his, so I do not know.
Okay.
I saw his name pop up, and I have not seen it. I will look it up during the music part of the show.
Sure. Yeah, he finished last year with the Mets, though, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay.
I've not heard his name come up. I saw it there, but
Chaska native pitcher Hoser.
Yep.
I had a Hand that came out of Chaska High School.
Yep. Put that down here, and I will look, like I said, during the music segment of the show.
Sure.
Which I'll get into my music segment here real quick. Concerts coming up in the area. This is all out with our friends at Medina, the Highwaymen, April 1st, the Highwaymen Tribute Show. General admission tickets are $22. Then the 2nd, the Beatles versus the Stones. Some of these are kind of coming up as reschedulings from COVID last year and stuff. And also, they've been there before too. But so Beatles, Stones, April 2nd. It's $27 general admission for that one. The 9th, the Fabulous Armadillos, an Eagles tribute band, will be there. And then on the 23rd, a Rush tribute project, a Rush tribute band will be there if you're into Rush music. Saturday, April 23rd. The 30th, Lita Ford and Jack Russell's Great White will be there. $35 general admission. And October 7th, Killer Queen, $33. Killer Queen, $33 from the one time I saw him outdoor. That's a $33 well spent. Slipknot, April 9th at Target Center. That's your musical choice. Slipknot will be there at the Target Center April 9th. Twin Cities Takeover 93X sponsoring Godsmack, 3 Days Grace, and Asking Alexandria. That'll be coming up May 7th at Target Center. Over at the X, April 3rd, John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora and the boys. And April 9th, the same night Godsmack's over at Target Center. Over at the X, Kid Rock. We'll be there with Grand Funk Road.
Go back a sec. I think it was May, Godsmack. Was that in May?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Slipknot is April.
Okay, gotcha.
Slipknot's the same as Kid Rock. My mistake. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, so Slipknot and Kid Rock.
Okay.
Both in town the same night. Some of the establishments downtown in both towns will be very busy. Lots of people will be busy at the bars. Cops will be busy, so stay away. Top songs, album charts. Planet Zero, Shine Down, still number 1. Black Summer by Red Hot Chili Peppers, number 2. Love Dies Young by Foo Fighters, up to 3. So-Called Life by 3 Days Grace, 4. More on the Foo Fighters later in Dan's part of the show. I hate to say this, but just the way life goes, that one might go up the charts to number 1 in the next week or two, I guess, with the news. But before we get into that, You have a trivia answer for us on Kentucky or on Kansas basketball.
Yes, Kansas Jayhawks men's basketball has been to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament 15 times. They'll be playing this coming weekend for the 16th time. What is their record? The 15 previous times, what's their record win-loss of those 15 games? No, it's not 15-0, but it's interesting enough. But what's your guess?
I'm gonna say 8-7, like above 500.
You are very, very close. They're actually 9-6. They're 9-6 in 15 games going to the Final Four. And they're a dominant team getting there to the Final Four. They've done it how many times? 15. But they're not a lock, to win that game, to get to the championship game. They're not a lock. They've won 9. They've lost 6 of those games and been done to go home. But just making it is tough. But we'll see how they do. They play, like you said, Saturday, 2 games. Game 1 of the semifinals, and then that afternoon, game 2 that night, and then they have an off day Sunday. So a week from today, they're off, and then Monday night's the showdown, the championship. And like you mentioned, we got now March Madness wrapping up. All the sports now for winter in the state of Minnesota now are done. They're wrapped up.
Yep.
You'll be covering a lot of baseball, softball, track and field maybe, but
high school baseball starts on the 30th.
It's gonna whip into high gear for that, and we're gonna really be covering a lot of Major League Baseball. Minor League Baseball will be actually starting, I believe, is it maybe this weekend?
Yeah, they're coming up.
They'll be coming up, and then the USFL is going to be starting in a couple weeks here. We'll do a preview on that. We'll do a fantasy football league here with the guests of the show, fans of the show, for the USFL, just for fun too.
Yeah,
join that if you'd like. But boy, the baseball is going to be fun. Carlos Correa got his first start today in a Twins uniform.
Yes. Brad Hand is property of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay, so maybe he did get signed at the end of the year with them.
He was with the Mets, but I don't know where he went off. I knew he was on the Mets roster. I lost where he went. He did stay in the division. He'll either be a setup guy, 8th inning guy, 9th inning closer. Very good. Chaska, Nate. The much hated Phillies, I like to refer to him as.
And then we've got local Paige Beckers playing tomorrow night, UConn women's basketball. Now
she's been going real slow, nice and slow coming back.
Yes, nothing too big. They've got their starters, Ozzy Fudd, true freshman, has filled in, and they're pretty deep, that team. So they can go 7, 8 players deep, not really skip a beat. So they should do well.
If you want one last tidbit of news that Dan has before he does the album review, they're kind of tied together. Dan was a Foo Fighters fan. Their older stuff,
Yes.
And I think everybody liked their first couple albums, and it's kind of became the same old, but that's for another show. Tyler Hawkins. Hawkins passes away very unexpectedly.
Age 50, the Hawk.
Yes, just a young man compared to you.
And healthy guy, 50 years old.
Well loved and
very conditioned for what he does. Very active in the drumming role back there. He's not sitting back there tapping the drums, but he's a monster, much like his predecessor, Dave Grohl.
Yeah, I've seen tributes. Everybody I follow on the social media for music, Michael Sweet of Stryper, Nancy Wilson of Heart, other bands have put stuff on. Even other people that weren't in music, other actors and comedians who have just been fans of the band have said stuff. So big loss. Again, we're not the show that's going to go into why he passed. We're just going to say he passed, and it's terrible that someone at his age, everything going for you, so thoughts and prayers, as they say, to the family and everybody else for all this.
Taylor Hawkins, 50 years old, had a wife and three children, and played in a couple side projects as well. And these guys were busy. I mean, the Foo Fighters were busy. I think they've lost some of the fans along the way with Dave Grohl kind of pushing to that liberal side, left side for all his things, and the fans have fallen away. But their Studio 666 movie just came out last month. It's a kind of a campy horror slasher film that's got some comedy built into it, and it's kind of a paranormal. Studio 666. It's got all the members of the cast. Taylor Hawkins is in it.
Now Dave Grohl's a big Kiss fan, so it's kind of a modern day version of Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park.
It's much like that. They wanted to put something together.
Yeah.
They're not trying to go out and make big bucks on this film. They had it just for fun. They did it as something they always wanted to do, kind of a Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, corny thing like that. If you watch the trailer, you can go online, watch the trailer. The movie just came out last month, and so the creepy thing is, if you watch the trailer, the last person to die is Taylor Hawkins, gets killed at the end, right before the trailer ends. So he dies.
It's not spoiler, it's in the trailer, so it's like he gave away the movie there. Yeah.
Yes. And but there's a lot of humor in that. These guys have always been known for a lot of humor in their music videos as well.
Yes. That's where I think I learned to like them, was from their videos, having fun with that.
They had a lot of fun. So I'm going to tie that into the album of the week review of the week. And anything else on that?
I know, like I said, there's gonna be a lot of speculation you can hear coming out. The band Foo Fighters, they weren't your stereotypical rock band where you heard the horror stories of all the bands in the 80s, what they did and this and that. That wasn't them. And not saying they didn't crack open a Miller Lite after a show or something like that, but they didn't. They stopped after one or two, from the stories I've heard. They weren't big into the parties and the drugs and the drinks and the ladies and stuff like that. So
I think, they had their fun years ago, but this band's been around for so long that they're all grown men, 50, 55, 60 years old and now. So they all have families, and they're all very health oriented.
I know Dave Grohl likes his Mother Nature, him and Snoop Dogg and Kid Rock.
Oh, yes. They love that.
That's not an issue for him either, though. He just enjoys it every now and then.
They're so active in different things, side projects. They're almost like addicted to the work. Dave Grohl plays in a couple other bands. He was in Queens of the Stone Age, played in some other bands on the side as well, and put together this movie. He produced this, wrote it, and directed it. But their album just came out last year. They're touring in support of that. They had just finished 3 or 4 dates down in South America.
They're coming up here this summer,
and they just wrapped up that portion of their leg of the tour. So were they partying or something? I don't know. Taylor Hawkins himself plays in 2 additional bands over and above the Foo Fighters.
Yeah,
Foo Fighters is like a full-time gig. So these guys, they have
addicted to work.
They have a lot of fun. The album of the week. Here we go. I'll bring it up. Here's the album of the week. Taylor Hawkins and the Coattail Riders. This is the name of the album. This is actually the name of the band. He put a band together several years ago. This group now has 3 albums out. And so downtime in between the Foo Fighters, in between touring, in between albums. Taylor Hawkins, this album debuted in 2006. It features 11 songs which were recorded by the band during 2004, before the Foo Fighters started recording the album In Your Honor. Now, the album art is an homage to The James Gang Rides Again. If you look at The James Gang Rides Again album, it looks just like this. It's white background with black, big, bold letters, and they like that so much that they did this album just like this. Taylor Hawkins is a big fan of them. In fact, they wrote a song about that band in the Coattail Riders' second album. Now, Taylor Hawkins, as a drummer, does vocals and plays the drums on this. And he always got grief from the other guys in the band by saying, all you're going to do is put together your own band and ride the coattails of Dave Grohl to success. So he says, okay, believe me, I'm not trying to make money on the side. I just want to do this for the love of music, but I'll call myself the Coattail Riders. That's what it was. Yep. They said, you're going to use the Dave Grohl band name and the Foo Fighters name to make some money on the side. And so he had fun with it. They called themselves the Coattail Riders. It was a 3-man band. Danner, Arnold, and then Chris Chaney on bass. Now, Chris Chaney played bass when Taylor Hawkins was with Chris Chaney, also with Alanis Morissette. Those guys played together on some earlier stuff. Now, Taylor Hawkins right now is in another band. They're going to be just releasing, I think, the album It's called NHC. It's the acronym for the 3 band members' last name. Dave Navarro plays guitar. Taylor Hawkins, drums and vocals, and Chris Chaney, we talked about before, is on bass. Those 3 are NHC, and they just released their music video thing called Feed the Cruel. Feed the Cruel. So he's in this band called NHC.
That sounds pretty good.
That and Dave Navarro, he's always wanted to work with him, and Chris Chaney is another guy about his age. They did a lot of stuff growing up together over the years, and now they're able to do this. And Chris Chaney was with he was with Jane's Addiction. I've got some notes here. He was a Jane's Addiction guy, and that's how they hooked up also with these other cats. But the album came out. There's 11 songs. Here's the track listing, and these are good. This is not a throwaway album. This is got some good music on it, but it is an offshoot. The first song is called Louise. Second song is Walking Away. Song 3 is Running in Place. Song 4 is a short instrumental, 39 seconds, called NOA. Song 5 is It's Okay Now. 6, End of the Line. Song 7, You Drive Me Insane. Song 8, Wasted Energy. Song 9, Get Up, I Want to Get Down. That's got a funk, kind of a funk connection to it. And it's got a kind of a Jane's Addiction feel to it. And the song before that, Wasted Energy, that's got a country rock feel to that. And then song 10 is Pitiful. Song 11 is Better You Than Me. And if you wait on that, there is a hidden track at the end. There's a couple minutes of silence on the CD. And then there's a song called Perfect Day. He's got that hidden on there. This was released in 2006. It's considered alternative rock and hard rock. Total length 39 minutes, 28 seconds. Producer Drew Hester. Drew Hester, you may have heard his name also as well. I've got another set of notes here, I believe. Oh, you know what? I don't have it with me. But, Taylor Hawkins was a pretty good, was coming into his own as a songwriter. He had some very good talent as vocals as well. Very good on the drums. He learned from Dave Grohl on the drums, but he was a mentor. Dave Grohl was a mentor, looked up to him as a big brother. Now, I've seen Foo Fighters 3 different times in concert in the Twin Cities, able to get fairly close at some of these events, including a special a surprise event at First Avenue. They showed up once and played. We got tickets, me and a buddy of mine. We went and got right up close to the front at a First Avenue show with the Foo Fighters that was unannounced. That was one of my best concerts I've ever been to. But then when the Coattail Riders came to town, they played at the Varsity Theater.
Okay.
Gopher campus. And believe me, there was 50 people probably in the crowd. They were right up there on the stage. The drum kit, Taylor Hawkins' drum kit, was pulled right up almost to the stage, and there was no rail, no space in between the fans, and literally was 6-7 feet away from the guy performing all those songs. No opening act, just an awesome. They played that basically that whole album is all they did. Now, in the years since, they have put together a couple other albums called the Coattail Riders, and so once again, these side projects, these guys keep themselves busy. Taylor Hawkins was a busy guy, over and above just the Foo Fighters stuff, and that was a worldwide #1 biggest rock band there is. Now, you and I know, Andy, there's really not a lot of rock bands out there anymore.
Right.
Retread, people playing the casinos and the festivals and things like that, these older bands, Great White, Lita Ford. But the heavy metal, the big arena rock bands like the Foo Fighters, there's not many left. So they've got a lot of those records to themselves as far as attendance and sales and album sales. But they're still putting out albums every 2 or 3 years. And in looking into it for this review, I hadn't even bought in the last couple of them. I like the early stuff, really good on the early type of things after Dave Grohl left Nirvana, but good stuff. But that's the album review. Taylor Hawkins and the Coattail Riders. Kind of a funny, tongue-in-cheek. It kind of shows the humor that these guys had. Very funny guys.
Right. And you'll get back some of the stuff, like I said, when these guys go on their side projects, it's not because they're trying to break away from the band. He's not trying to break away from Foo Fighters. It's just, hey, I want to do some stuff. Maybe he wants to work on his own songwriting, but he knows Dave has that done for Foo Fighters. So let me do a couple songs over here. Dave can hear him. Maybe he'll let me write one for us. I heard their last concert. He sang the last song that night.
Oh, he did.
I can't remember what it was. He did a cover of someone, and so he went out doing what he loved. He wanted, kind of wanted to be like Dave Grohl. I'll go from the drummers to lead singer. Phil Collins did it with his bands, with Genesis. He was the drummer, then he went lead singer. I guess my question would be, and I'd like to know. Obviously, he went to these size projects. Did Dave Grohl have an issue with that? I wonder. Did he secretly going, no, you're in my band, or was he okay with it because he got to go do his own stuff then too? See, he did these side projects while Grohl was writing the movie, so it's like he took time away from Foo Fighters.
Yeah, it was not. It was always during their downtime.
Yeah,
that they were allowed to, and I think Grohl was very popular with these guys. Is he allowed the rest of the band members to expand their wings and go on these side projects and expand and anything to get more creative and more musical creativity for their own stuff. Because, like I said, Dave Grohl really runs that Foo Fighters tight ship. You're not really allowed to bring up some suggestions and offer advice and things like that.
That's his baby, his call.
The first album itself, Taylor Hawkins recorded all the drum parts the first time when he was with them officially. But later, by the time it got mixed and recorded and redubbed and overdubbed, half of his were cut out. He only appears on half the songs as a drummer. Dave Grohl did the rest of the drums. And the interview that I read said, were you taken aback by that? He says, no, I just said, praise the Lord. Some of my stuff got on the album. I was just glad some of them got on there. They're like, well, but you're the drummer. You should have all your stuff. They said, you don't know how good Dave Grohl is. And so he said, next album, I'm hoping to appear on more. And by the time we get to the end, he was appearing on all these albums. And he even, there's a couple songs that he sang lead vocals on as well. So very gifted guy. But a lot of the comments, boy, you start reading some of these internet forums are saying, Taylor Hawkins, one of the best drummers of all time. Well, he wasn't that. He was good, very good. But
he was very well liked.
That does rank up there as one of the best of all time. So he wasn't in that category, but I enjoyed his work immensely. The work that Taylor Hawkins did, very, very good drummer, but you can't compare him to the best. But he had more of a presence and aura about him and a personality that you can see coming on the stage. These two, Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins, were the two most known guys in that band. The rest, the guitarists, basses, they mainly stood there and played their instruments, and these two had the banter back and forth from the drum kit back to the vocals. So everyone seems to know Taylor, but you're right, in the musical business, as far as the condolences that were sent out on Twitter, Facebook, these guys were idols. I mean, everyone loved Taylor Hawkins. That was huge. He was well-liked for many, many years, going back all these decades. Fan favorite. And he's a Southern California guy. Always kind of had this Southern Cal surfboard look.
Yep.
Him. But so we'll see what comes of all that. But they were in the middle of touring. The movie came out, the tour was going on. They're kind of in the middle of all this right now. So lots to deal with, and they're in another country, and who knows? And who knows what happened to and I didn't know this, but the city in Bogota, Colombia. People think cocaine right away.
Right.
Was involved with that, but the altitude there, that's an 8,000 elevation city. 8,000. So you think Denver, Mile High City, was 5,000 feet.
280, yeah.
5280 this is 8,000 feet elevation. So who knows what all was going on, but your heart and your lungs and respiratory, whatever else, has a hard time keeping up with anything because it's so different than what we're dealing with here in the U.S. But condolences to the family and the friends and bandmates and everything. He was very well liked. He was kind of like, well, you're a Kiss guy, Andy. He was like almost an Eric Carr presence.
Yep. That's what I was gonna say.
Face, always cracking jokes, infectious laugh. He was like an Eric Carr kind of a guy for Kiss, where everyone just loved the guy.
And I wouldn't be surprised. You're going to see any band who's on a hiatus right now. I'm sure those drummers have called Dave Grohl going, you need me to fill in. They'll do it for they'll do it for him.
It's we'll see in the coming weeks here what all comes of it, because who knows? Is this going to break up the band? What are they going to do? All things are on the table right now. Who knows what's going to happen? But I do think that you're right. The single that's out now, the album sales, you're going to see an uptick in the next couple of weeks of people buying that movie. It is available. You can purchase the movie. It's no longer in the theaters, I don't think, but you'll see the album sales go up, and these other side jobs that he's in as well.
Yeah, you can see, so that when you just did all other side parts he's been in, you see those sales pop up, which it's just the nature of the beast.
That's why I wanted to do this. I did pick this after the death. I did not pick this ahead of time. It wasn't out of coincidental, but I picked an album that a lot of people probably don't know of or know about him, and maybe if they want to research and get more into his vocals and his drumming work, here's a good song.
Check him out on Spotify. You can probably find a lot of it.
Yeah, check him out there. It's got some good info, good songs to listen to. And that's all I've got for music and sports. Like I said, we'll be covering Major League Baseball, spring training, the trades. Trades are still going on. We still may see some movement here in the next few days, but then Major League Baseball is going to kick off. Minor League Baseball is going to be in full swing. Before you know it, the NFL draft will be here, and USFL baseball.
We're going to cover high school baseball this summer, small college baseball, Big Ten baseball, town ball. If you use a stick and play in a diamond, we're going to cover it. Okay.
There are 6 Minnesota amateur baseball town ball, 6 new teams this year.
Yep.
And so I might do a midweek bonus coverage on those just to kind of introduce these new. They're introducing their team, their logo, their rosters, where they're playing, their schedule. It's all out there on Twitter right now. A lot of information, a lot of interesting things out there. Detroit Lakes has never had, I don't think, a team. They've got a team.
We follow a lot of those teams on our Twitter account, the Sports and Songs 1 on Twitter. So we retweet a lot of their stuff too. So if you just follow us on Twitter, you'll see their things coming up.
Yes, follow on Facebook, Twitter, our blog, and on YouTube then as well. But that's all I've got here for this week's episode.
That's all. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Have a good week.